Welcome to the Beautifully Changed podcast. I'm so happy that you are here. Please take a moment and leave me a review. I really appreciate it and it helps me out a ton. Thank you for spending some of your time with me today, and I hope you find something in this episode that is a helpful takeaway that you can apply to your life starting today. Sending huge love your way. Let's do this. Well, hello there, you delightful pumpkin pies. Halloween is just around the corner, and that's super duper exciting. Halloween is one of our favorite holidays. And even though it's going to look a little different this year because of COVID, we are not letting it get us down. We are still going to dress up and have some fun and listen to spooky music and dance around and just enjoy the holiday season. And perfect timing because today is freezing. It was 66 out. So that's nice and chilly for my Arizona body. Anyway, today I have my husband as my delightful guest. So let's give a round of applause for Keoni Mana Parehamas. Okay, so today we're doing a Q&A, so thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the key is that Keoni doesn't go into freeze mode since we're recording. And hopefully he'll just talk natural as if we're hanging out and there's no microphone in front of us.
Good luck.
Good luck. So I thought it would be fun to do a Q&A because, I don't know, why not? You guys ask me questions a lot in the DMs, so I thought maybe some of your questions would be good for other people to hear as well. So one of the questions that I received is, why do I like to help people in relationships? And I would say simply because we all have them. And even though most of us think we know exactly what we're doing, sometimes when we learn a little skills, tips, tricks, little tweaks we can add to our relationship, it can really enhance it. And sometimes it's way more simple than we think it is. So,
well, that's also your skill set. Like, I can't necessarily help people with relationships, but you have so many skills and like 2 decades worth of experience doing this stuff. That it's almost like your duty to help. Like you need to help people.
yeah. It's where you get in this tricky area, though, because since everyone has a relationship, everyone thinks they're an expert. And they're not necessarily willing to have tips, or they're not willing to tweak things or try things different, or they'll only try it once, or they tried it 5 years ago with someone else, and so there's no way it's going to work, even though relationships are very fluid and they're a system, and so they're consistently changing and shifting to continue to work together. And either we work together to enhance our relationship, and this could be friendships, family, like employment, all of these things, and because every single person that we interact with is a form of a relationship. And it's almost like you have to humble yourself to ask for help and be willing to tweak it.
Well, it's like everybody's a do-it-yourself person when it comes to relationships, but when it comes to, like, say, fixing your car, not everybody's that. Some people think they are a do-it-yourself person and they can do a great job, and then it doesn't turn out anywhere near. It's very tangible, right?
Yeah, or they destroy their vehicle.
Yeah, or they destroy their vehicle, but they don't understand that if they took it to a master mechanic, that it would get done right and it would drive like normal.
The thing with that, though, is that the mechanic is the one who actually goes in and fixes it, and then they don't have to change anything. They don't have to do anything different but bring it to the mechanic, and the mechanic does their thing, and they drive off, and their car works, right? And in a relationship, you actually have to be the one to shift things in order for your relationship to shift, right?
It's like they continuously hit the curb with their car.
Yeah.
Like, my mechanic didn't fix my alignment. I keep on hitting the curb.
Right. Exactly. But they're the one. And I think that's where it gets hard, is because they go to someone, and relationships are a combination of obviously 2 people at minimum. Right. And so it's, well, here's some things that you can do. And now we get to have fun and experiment and see what's going to work with you. But people don't necessarily want to put in that work. They're just looking for the easy solution, right? Just like losing weight, everyone's looking for the easy solution versus the consistency.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And that's where it can get a little bit frustrating when... But you know what? It's very common to give people suggestions and advice, and they're just like, yeah, I'm throwing that out the window. I'm not going to do any of that. Yeah. But you're right. It does feel like a duty in a sense, but not a negative way, just in a very positive way. Like, I really love... This is what I love doing. I've been studying this my whole life. I've been observing it my whole life. And it feels very natural to give suggestions or to be like, oh, here's a solution that you could try on. Because, I don't know. And it's fun for me. It's like problem solving. Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
And nothing scares me. Like, no one can bring a situation to me that I haven't heard.
Yeah, you've seen so many variations of the exact same problem that it's like, oh, this is a slight variation of this problem. This is the answer.
Yeah.
It's like, just do this. And like, nah, I'm going to do it the hard way for the next 5 years and then come back to you and like, you were right.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's definitely like, and I think that's one of the things where... During therapy, a lot of people get frustrated because they want the therapist to give them the answers, but you're not supposed to, right? Even if you know the answer. Yeah. But you can give homework assignments and then help them discover more and more and more. I think that's kind of what's fun with like mentoring people and being a hypnotist is that a lot of them want to just go straight into the action and they don't have to do the uncovering and the solving because since I don't do therapy, if they're still in that process of having to work through the whys and the hows and where it began and what it means and all of that, they're not ready for action, then therapy is a great stage for them. But once they're ready for action, I love being able to be like, okay, here's the action plan. This is where we get to experiment and we get to tweak things and you get to discover, you know, the beauty that is behind the relationships and the flexibility within them, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So then another question I got is, what is it like for your husband to be married to a relationship expert? And even my dad had asked this, right? Like, isn't that so annoying? I get this so many
times, like, from, like, coworkers. Like,
oh, you do?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, no. Oh, yeah. So just go ahead. What's your experience and what do your coworkers ask?
Well, they ask like, "Oh, how's that being married to somebody who has their degree in therapy, you know, or who's a relationship coach?" And it's like, I was like, "Oh, I'm probably wrong. I'm just gonna go with it." It's like, I probably do need to fix something, but the thing is. I tell them, this is what I tell them. I was like, you know, it's actually pretty nice because there's always a solution that she has readily available that we can both work on, you know, together. It's not like, even if it's like, if it's just you or if it's just me, it's like, hey, this is what we can do. It's like, you provide those action steps, or you provide, it's like, oh, why, or whatever. It's actually, I like it because it's real time. And if things are like real time, like if you could see into everybody's home and their relationships, you could probably help them more, right? Like if you could see exactly what's going on.
Oh yeah,
the
for sure.
Context of each moment of, hey, they had that fight, but you have it, all that knowledge, and you can do it with our relationship. So it's just like, it's really great, I think, to be able to move past.
I think one of the things that makes it so that works, well, a couple things. One, I think I have really great self-awareness, so I'm able to call myself out too, right? It's not always just you. I'm not like, Keoni this, Keoni that, right? Like, I can call myself out. Also, you're receptive, which is super, super important for relationships. If you want to have the happiest, most fulfilling relationship you can, you need to be able to hear the other person and be able to... you know, kind of receive some of their suggestions and input. Especially, this is harder for men to do for so many reasons. But once both parties are able to receive input from the other person, some magic can happen, I think. And I think also, like, we've been together for 12 years. Most of the time it feels like we've been together for a couple years. Yeah. And I think a lot of people really do know that we have a ton of fun together. We are really happy. We do both really support each other. Our relationship stands out in a very positive way. And it's because of us being willing to have that self-awareness and have the hard conversations and turn towards each other instead of pulling away from each other.
Well, I think also you putting your relationship expertise into our relationship, practicing what you preach, makes a huge difference as well. Like, I don't think it would necessarily be as successful as it is if it wasn't for you. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. But if I was sharing my expertise and you weren't willing to receive it and you were like, this is dumb, I'm not doing that.
Well, you probably would have never picked me as a husband. Then.
True.
Like, this dude's a brick wall. He's just going to watch football every Sunday.
I'm out skis. Yeah. Yeah. Because I wanted a partnership, which is another question I got is what are some of the, if I were to narrow down some of the tips that I think are super helpful for any couple, this is what I would say is that it's so important to keep check if you're partnering or parenting your person, right? Your partner that you're with. And I think this is important because we all want room to just be ourselves and to breathe and have the freedom to just make mistakes and be who we are and not have to be everything perfect for the other person. But then sometimes I think women tend to do more of the parenting aspect, but then also be submissive in other ways. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it's almost like that women will often, or moms will often, or just maybe just women, they take on that maternal role of child rearing, right? And like, if that's their goal or whatever it is, or if they do have kids, it's almost like, well, this is my role in life. And it's like our social norm. Like, that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be that person in our patriarchal society. So
yeah, there's also always the joke, right? Like, fix him. You got to fix him. You got to teach him.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you get told this joke as a female that, oh, you're going to have to just fix him.
Yeah.
You got to train him. Yeah. All of this stuff, then you're going to step into that role and you're going to think, oh, I need to train this guy to be exactly how I want.
People really believe that. Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, I spent too much time training him. I'm not giving it up. Like,
even though it's an unhealthy relationship, they won't walk away because they spent too much time.
Like, we've been together 20 years, bro. I'm gonna stay. Nobody else is gonna get my finished product.
Yeah, so we're just gonna be miserable together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's. So it's like you got to catch yourself and be like, am I partnering or am I accepting my person for as they are? And there can definitely be things where you're like, hey, this hurt my feelings, or this is actually really annoying to me or frustrating. What can we do? And like having conversations around it so that you can live in harmony together. It's also just letting that person be the freedom to be themselves, and you don't have to train them to be somebody else or teach. Like, we do teach people how to treat us, but you don't have to teach a grown-up how to be a grown-up, right? Like, it's more as, is this the person, is this the personality that's a good fit for your lifestyle? Because sometimes we stay with people even though we're actually not a fit just because, we're madly in love with them, but, they want kids or you don't, or they have all these different other lifestyle goals and they don't match with yours. And so then there's all this friction all the time. So sometimes it's okay to have two perfectly really amazing people and just be like, you know what, we're actually not a lifestyle fit together.
It's like if somebody's not willing to compromise on particular areas, or if somebody made all the compromises and one person didn't make the compromises, and then the person who made the compromises resents that person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if you're doing anything that's leading to resentment, or like the only way you'll be happy is if this person was completely different from how they are.
You should go find a new person.
Yeah, and let them find a new person who can love them and accept them for who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think another really, really important thing that if people were doing this in their relationships, any relationship that they have, is if they're leading with kindness and if they're asking themselves what would be loving or compassionate or kind or what would feel good to receive from me, that's a game changer in your relationship. So, and it's so simple, but I literally think of all the couples that I know that are like so incredibly happy and in love, and they still have the passion and they're so cute together. They literally have kindness that is like their heartbeat of their relationship. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah. I haven't made that observation, but I can see that for sure.
Yeah, so I think the kindness is definitely a huge, huge thing, and consistently. So being kind and thoughtful on a consistent basis and being supportive to each other. Okay, so one question that I had, and I was going to do a whole episode on this, but I figured I would just add it in here because it's not necessary to have a whole episode. So, when do compliments cross the line? Now, for me, and this is probably an answer that Keoni would laugh at, but I'm going to say that really depends on the person, right? There's not a solid rule of when a compliment's going to cross the line. It's really up to you and what you feel is inappropriate and too far and too much.
It almost feels like that whole thing on the line varies based on your interest in that person. So if somebody's giving you creepy vibes and they give you a compliment, then it's like harassment. But if somebody's like semi-attractive or being really kind to you and they give you a compliment, the exact same compliment, it could be, oh, that was nice. Or it's a little bit off. Like even if it was like over the line, it was like, oh, it's a little bit off versus, oh, that's creepy. And I think it's like, like how receptive you are. It's like their physicalness, like their physical attractiveness, their personality,
Probably how long you've known them.
how long, yeah, how comfortable you are around them and stuff like that. And if you know like their mannerisms, like, oh, that's just who they are. They say those things.
Yeah, they say it to everybody, doesn't matter, or if it's to you. Okay,
it's not personally directed to you, and I think it's really hard in first time interactions, especially, or just a handful of interactions, that to know how that person's gonna react to you. Like, you don't know, even giving the compliment, like what's too much of a compliment. And honestly, like, it's hard because we have a son, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like, well, I want him to give compliments because that's good, right? And everybody's really receptive to him right now.
And that is literally a love language, words of affirmations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But then it's like, it's such a double-edged sword. And I was like, nah, I think just swing the damn sword. Like, and give the compliment. And I was like, if the compliment went too far, as long as you're not being like creepy intentions with it, I think you'll be good.
So that's for you. What's a creepy intention?
Well, not so there's like catcalling, right? But then there's like above catcalling, like where it's like saying something provocative over like their physical appearance, like, oh, nice ass, or nice tits or something. I don't know. Like, shake it, girl. Like, just like, it's completely,
that's too much. That's
way too much, right? It's like over the top. And there's a huge majority of males that will do that. So.
Yeah, I think it also depends, like, does that person know you're in a relationship? And if they know you're in a relationship, there's a difference between, wow, you look really nice today.
Right.
Versus like, whoa, you look really nice today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the tone of the voice and stuff like that. So, I mean, I get DMs all the time.
And that can get lost a lot right now because there is no tone. There's no
through text message. Yeah.
Anything, right?
Because, yeah, so I was going to say is like, I get DMs all the time that are definitely can be inappropriate, but I just laugh it off because it's not something I would ever be interested in.
Yeah.
And I think also the security in your relationship's really important. Yeah. And how open you are with the other person. Like, I'm always telling you, like, we laugh about them together because I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this DM I just got, right? Where, and so many times I'll get somebody saying, like, I don't know, ask me if I'm married, and I'm like, I am happily married, da da da. And they'll be like, oh, I don't care if you're married. And I'm like, what? That in itself, like, I don't even want to be your friend now. You know, like, I'll just.
It was a rhetorical question. Like, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I'll just block them at that point because, you know. So what I want to talk about then is, like, what do you do when you do feel like a compliment crossed the line?
Well, I feel like that's more in your court. I feel like the guy should keep on swinging, but if it's not working, that they tone it down or they redefine their approach. And if like if you are that creep, right? If like, oh, I don't care if you're married. Like if you're that person, you should, if you look at your success rate, you should probably change it, you know? Like that shouldn't be your approach.
Yeah.
But with
come
the
up with
crossing
something
the
more
line,
creative.
I don't think it's less often that it happens to males. It's more of a female issue, so yeah, it's kind of more in your court.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, this question did come from a guy because a lady kept like showing up, like each time they'd interact, he would notice that the interaction got a little bit more flirty, and she'd start wearing different outfits, like more cleavage showing and more like lingering, like leaning towards, like hand on the arm.
Right.
You know, and this person knew he was married and even knows his wife.
Yeah.
So I think at that point it's like, okay, obviously this person's interested. And that's when I think you have to have that hard conversation. And if you know this person by name, just asking them like, hey, Sally, what's going on here? Like, I feel like you're being a little flirty. I think just call it out sometimes. I mean, I know it's uncomfortable, but calling it out, then that person is like, oh.
Yeah, I think, like, if you wanted to do it in a subtle way without calling it out, you could also, like, calling it out is obviously going to work, right?
Right.
Like, hey, stop, lady. No means no. But, or you could be like, talking about your spouse all the time.
Yes, like always bringing up your spouse.
Always bringing up your spouse. So, like, there's a lady at work, and she was like, it just uncomfortable vibes towards me, right? Like, and like, I was like, I'm married, so I was like, I just kept on bringing up you and my kid every time. It's like, oh yeah, this one crazy thing my wife said, Steph.
Yeah, know? I think that's a really, really great and effective way is to continuously bring up your partner, especially when you feel like someone's giving you too much attention. That when you start to feel uncomfortable, then bringing up your spouse or, like you said, telling a story. And if that's not working, then you call it out.
Yeah.
I think eventually you have to call it out if it's somebody that you're going to be in continuous interaction with. If you're never going to see them again, then it doesn't matter. Or if it's, or if it's a DM, I just delete them, right?
Yeah.
And then that's easy peasy. But in person, it's like I will eventually, you know, because even when we first got together, I had an ex who would continuously be like, hey, are you going to send me pictures of your boobs? And I was like, no, like I'm in a relationship. And he knew I was in a relationship. Yeah. And eventually, and I think he was even in a relationship. I mean, that's how much some people are a little inappropriate. But I was like, eventually I said, listen, you have to stop asking me that. You know, I'm dating someone where I'm really enjoying my relationship with him. And then I think we stopped talking altogether. Yeah. Because he didn't know how to be friends without being pervy. Yeah. And I was like, that isn't going to happen.
And the harsh truth of the reality, say it's your boss. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get the promotion. Sorry. It's just not going to happen.
If it's that type of boss.
If it's that type of boss, like that does happen. That's a very real thing. It's like, I like my relationship more than I like getting a slight promotion from where I'm at. You know, like that's not that important.
So you could even maybe have to find a different job, you know, so that you can grow and stuff like that. Because I think even like, now I'm not 1,000,000% sure, you could fact check this, but I'm pretty sure the reason why Bumble, that dating site, even exists is because she was the co-founder of Tinder and was getting harassed at Tinder. And so that's why she stepped away.
Executives, right? Yeah. And she was an executive herself.
Yeah. And I believe that's why she stepped away to create her own dating site then. So there are some things with that. That's another great thing. If you are getting compliments that are over the line while you're at work, talk about it with your employer and find out, are you allowed to say something? Are you allowed to confront it? Role play some of the responses that are appropriate at work that would feel good to you, that you're able to set your boundary. that you're able to, and maybe your boss will be somebody who's like, listen, if they keep doing it, I'd rather not have their business so that you feel safe at work. There are employers out there who do have your best interest in mind. So definitely talking to your employer and finding out, what do we do when someone's being inappropriate and they're a customer?
Yeah.
Because you have to feel safe at work. And I think it is important to be able to set your boundaries at work and let people know that they're going too far.
Some workplaces, like my workplace, actually has training on that very specific subject.
Oh, that's
of
awesome.
Like a customer being inappropriate to you and how it's meant to be handled and all that stuff. And there's huge policies and all that stuff. But I mean, that stuff's still going to go on. And like it's not unavoidable. Like, you're not going to prevent it from ever not happening because not everybody's in the same state.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Same state of mind, that is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So any other tips you would give about that?
No, I guess just another thing to know is, like, males are going to give other males crap about it. So you can't really, most times...
Wait, what do you mean? Give crap about what?
So, like, if a girl is being over the line with a guy, that guy can't necessarily... Not many guys can he actually talk with to have a real conversation. It's like, oh, how do I get her to stop? And most...
Oh, because they're going to be like, oh, poor you.
Yeah, poor you. Oh, God, girls just throwing themselves at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's no support on that. It's not, very few and far between.
Yeah.
It's not even something I would mention to anybody.
Yeah, so guys would have a hard time with that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's no sympathy in that corner.
So what would you do if there is a guy listening right now and he's like, oh my gosh, yes, I totally get it. This is so uncomfortable, but I can't say anything. I don't know what to say. I'm going to get made fun of, and I'm not in a relationship, so I can't bring up my wife or my kids or anything like that, but I'm not interested in this person and they're pushing too hard. What would you say to that guy? Just start farting a lot and be real gross.
Yeah, you basically make yourself unattractive, right? Like
I was just kidding, but
no, but that really is, because like they're attracted to you, and if you did things that it's very easy to do things that are not attractive.
Because I think they literally say if you feel like someone is following you, to women, if you feel like there's someone following you, get kind of a creepy vibe if you're walking to your car or something at night, like to like literally turn around and like start picking your nose or like doing gross stuff.
Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. I'm going to fart.
Yeah, burp.
Oh, it's like, oh, that's a stinky one. Watch out. Watch out, everybody behind me. You might get dusted.
Yeah, but maybe you can't make it so cute and funny. You just got to like fart and be like, oh.
Right.
There it was.
Yeah. You're going to be like Homer Simpson style or something.
Yeah, Homer Simpson. That's funny.
Can't wait to drink some beer.
Yeah. Yeah, and for any women who are listening who are in this situation, it is 1,000,000% okay to trust how you feel and to say, hey, that's too far. Like, I know you're trying to compliment me. I appreciate it, but no thanks.
Yeah.
In whatever way that sounds good for you. Like, I'm a very direct person. I don't mind saying, like, pass or no thank you or, whatever I need to say in that moment. But also, I'm in my late 30s now, and when I was in my early 20s, that would have felt impossible, especially when I was in my people-pleasing phase, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would have been really scary to stick up for myself. But I'm telling you now, it's 1,000,000% okay to stick up for yourself and tell a guy, hey, too much. And you know what? I think guys can handle it if you tell them, whoa, that's too much. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. They'll probably, from what I've seen in the past, they'll just call you a B behind your back, and that's about it. But
or to your face.
Or to your face, and then they just won't be a part of you anymore, which is great. Win-win for you.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. It just shows more of their character.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay. So then, another question that I thought was important that came up, or all the questions I think are important. Let's see. So another question I got was, what do you do if the relationship with your mom feels negative? Well, first of all, acknowledge that it sucks to have this type of relationship with your mom. And it's super disappointing, especially because, like, so many movies or so many people you know in real life have incredible relationships with their mom. Like, so many people are best friends with their mom, or they just have this special type of relationship. So when you don't have that, it is a huge loss. So I think it is so important to acknowledge that and grieve the loss of the mom that you wish you had. And so sometimes we call this the fantasy parent, where we create in our mind how amazing it would be if our parent was this specific way. The thing is, though, when we do that, we just trap ourselves in the disappointment of what we're not actually getting. So it's letting go of the fantasy mom that you wish you had, or, also a fantasy dad. Letting that idea go, saying goodbye to it in whatever way feels good to you, whether that's writing a letter or having like a funeral for your fantasy parent, whatever it is you want to do. And then really acknowledge that loss, that you don't get to have that type of relationship currently in your life. And then also understanding that it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean that you're flawed or you're unlovable, or it was something about you that made it so your parents the way they are parenting. Parents parent from their own perspective, and if they haven't healed from their own traumas or their own injuries in life, unfortunately, it bleeds into their relationships with their children. And sometimes this means they treat their children differently, that like each child could have a different type of relationship with their parent based on their own story, the parent's own story, or own ability to show up and just do their own work. So I think it's really important to know that regardless of how your parent shows up, that does not have anything to do with your value as a human or how lovable you are or amazing you are. It's really that they're human, and sometimes they don't have the capacity to love you the way you need or wish you were loved, simply because they have no idea how to do it, or they just don't have that love within them at this time because they haven't healed from their own wounds that life has brought to them.
So what do you do about that then? So like that's like why it is, right? Mm-hmm. So what can you do? What are some like things you can do? Like, do you just put distance?
You can. Yeah, you have to set boundaries. Like if something happens a lot where it hurts your feelings. So for example, I'll share this story. One of the most empowering moments in my life was when I had moved to Connecticut, and pretty much anytime I had talked to my mom on the phone, I would start crying because of how my mom would engage with me. And I remember one time I had just told her I don't understand why she's speaking to me the way she was speaking to me, and that it really was hurting my feelings, and I'd rather her not answer the phone than to answer the phone and yell at me. And she like paused for a minute, and she was like, oh, like she didn't even realize, her self-awareness was so low. She didn't even realize how she was speaking to me. And from that point forward, she has truly made an effort in how she answers the phone or engages in a phone conversation with me. And that was pretty powerful because first it taught me that my mom can learn to have a different type of relationship with me. She can learn new skills, and I can have a conversation with her and not cry the whole time. And I could stick up for myself and set boundaries when I needed to. So you definitely may need to set boundaries. This may mean that you also need to have distance that is there, and you get to decide when you want to be around them or talk to her, or what you want to share with her and what you don't want to share with her. And that's all up to you. Now, she may not like this. I mean, of course she's not going to, like that you're putting distance or that you're limiting what you share. But that's okay. She doesn't have to like it. You have to feel good too. You know what I mean? So setting boundaries that support your own well-being and your own mental health and your own happiness is really, really important. The other thing is to really, truly understand, to create a relationship with yourself and to love yourself deeply, and to create a great relationship with yourself and know that you can start creating your own type of family in your life, other people that you do feel really supported by and that do love you. So choose your friends wisely. Choose who you're spending your time with. Instead of finding people who just repeat the pattern, find people who bring a different type of pattern to your life that is uplifting, supportive, loving, fun, all the things. And also, you can feel really good for the people who do have the privilege of having an incredible relationship with their mom. So when envy comes up or jealousy, pause and think, you know what? I'm going to be okay. I'm okay with this challenge that I have in this life, and I'm happy that they're not going through this challenge. That they don't ever have to experience the pain that comes with not having a loving relationship with your mom. So find happiness for them. The other things are just continuing to live your life for you. Instead of waiting around for her to change, accept her for who she is. Let go of the idea that she's going to be the mom that you want, so that you can free up that space for compassion for yourself and understanding that this is just who she is. Accept her for who she is, because she needs to be accepted too, just the way you need to be accepted. Now, it doesn't mean you have to like the way she is. And that's where you get to set your boundaries, and that could include the distance in the relationship. And also not going to her for her opinion, taking away the opportunities that will only lead you to feeling disappointed and sad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you have a hypnosis on your Beautifully Changed YouTube channel on setting boundaries?
I don't think I have one on setting boundaries, but I do have one for forgiving your mom.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, because I think you also have to forgive her for sucking.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And also make sure you're not stepping into the parenting role for her, but also just, parent yourself, do the inner child work, where I do have an inner child meditation on my YouTube channel, which I think is really important. And the forgiving your mom, I think, is really important too. So just forgiving her for being human and for not being what you needed, Yeah. Also, I think Tony Robbins said one time that if your parent, I think is what he said, if your parent was exactly who you needed, then you might not be who you are today.
That makes sense. This they cause some adversity to help you grow into whatever you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also learn if you ever decide to have children of your own, how will you be different? And start learning those skills now. Start practicing those skills now. And start healing those wounds from your relationship with your mom, so that you don't continue the pattern.
That's a good point, to do it before you actually have a child. That way.
Yeah.
Less likely to pass on more detrimental habits and behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even because it helps reduce your stress as pregnancy, it helps your labor be easier and everything. So, because your body will hold on to it. If you're not feeling safe, you're going to hold that baby in as long as you can, right?
Yeah.
And then you're scared to become a mom. And some people won't even become a mom because they're so scared of what if they're like their mom, And so that's why you can heal and do the work, so that you don't continue down the pattern. So find someone you trust to work with. Whether that's like me, or if you're going to therapy, or you want to read some books on your own. But definitely, yeah. So my YouTube has tons of meditation and hypnosis and guided imageries that are there to support you on your journey, so that you can heal at home.
Something's not there in the hundreds of videos that you put up, that
just let me know.
They could always book a session with you and get one custom made for them.
Oh, true. I look at him just promoting me.
That's what I do.
So, we could go on and on about what to do when you have a unhealthy, disappointing, negative relationship with a parent. Keoni knows how, this very well. I know this very well. Yep. And so I've lived it, and I've healed from it, and I keep moving forward, and I've shifted it so that I can have an incredible relationship with Keoni, and I feel like I'm a pretty badass mom.
I think that's the biggest thing. I just don't want to hinder myself from my past. Don't let my past hold me back. And I think You've actually made a lot of hypnosis specifically for me, and I appreciate that. I don't have any money to pay you with, though.
You could just do the dishes.
Yeah, that I will.
Speaking of, have you guys heard the song Ring My Bell? There's a line in there that's like, after I finish doing the dishes, then you can ring my bell. It's so funny. So funny for the time. Okay. Okay. So how do I get my husband to be more involved in my life and our kids' life? How can I get him also to understand that he's not babysitting when I'm not there?
I think he has to just like reframe it, right? Like, if that happens, I feel like whatever that guy, he's truly stepped into that very Western mode of, I provide and I come home and drink beer and you rub my feet.
And bring me my food.
And bring me my beer and make me a sandwich. Like, it's all those stereotypical things. But it's like some sort of variation of it. Like, that's the extreme version.
Like, I think your mom literally wanted me to wait on you hand and feet. Wasn't that something she had said once?
I
and I was
really
like,
think that was an expectation.
I was like, wait.
From my mother.
Yeah. And I was like, that's not going to happen. Sorry. Your boo-boo is going to have to.
But that older generation is definitely, like, they hold on to that. Like,
yeah.
I feel like it's changing as time goes on.
Yeah.
But it's still very prevalent.
I think depending on even, like, what state you live in.
That's true. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Because I know for us, I was very much like, nah, we're both doing chores. We're both doing this. We're both going to help out. And you were like, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So.
Because we both lived by ourselves for a long time, and we have to do everything by yourself, right?
Yeah, I didn't even meet you till I was 27, and I already had like a condo that I owned and everything. So I knew how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Right? But then if you're going to be like living there with me, I didn't sign up as like a maid, so
yeah,
I already
yeah.
had,
And you know what? Honestly, like if you really want a maid, I know some couples that they've one of my coworkers, they've had a maid for the exact same maid for 27 years.
That's amazing.
So like, it's not incredibly expensive to have a maid if that's you really neither of you really want to do the clean the showers or the bathrooms. Hire a maid every 2 weeks or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're also employing somebody, helping the economy,
yes.
doing so many great things.
Oh my gosh. Providing more tax revenue and yeah.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. But I think other things that you can do to help your husband be more involved with you and your kids is let him know that you want him to be involved by inviting him to participate. So my marriage and family therapist supervisor, during her doctorate program, she did like all this research on moms and dads and how moms are the gatekeepers basically to the children. And so moms also have to provide a path and an invitation for the dad to be more involved. And this is where you need to step back from parenting your partner and just letting him be. Because you know what? He may do something way different than you ever would. Doesn't mean it's bad. Right? Like you and I both play with Makayo way differently.
Very differently.
Yeah. And I can't come in and correct you on how to build Legos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you get to have your own relationship with him where I have my relationship with him, and they look different, and you can see how he even plays with us differently because of it or responds differently, but he's very happy and feels loved by both of us.
Yeah, it's great. I think it rounds out the child in many different aspects on how to interact with people that are not of the exact same, like cut from the exact same cloth. So
yeah. And I think like even when it comes to like changing diapers from the very beginning, you know, well, when I was pregnant, I think you and I had conversations like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Okay, I'm going to breastfeed. And then you're like, okay, then I'll change every diaper when I'm at home. Right. Yeah. And so maybe you needed help learning how to change the diaper. But then I wasn't like over your shoulder making sure you were changing the diaper correctly.
As long as like he's not like getting blood circulation cut off, like it's good.
Yeah.
You know, even if like poop fell out, it's like, okay, all right, well, you clean it. How many times do you want to clean that before you
learn?
You learn and change your approach. So
Yeah. So I think there has to be wiggle room for the dad to make mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And you step in if it's like life threatening or harm's gonna happen, you know, if you feel like that's what's happening in that situation. But overall, like, you got to trust the guy. So often guys know that their lady loves them, but they don't always know that she thinks he's competent or capable of doing anything. Right? And so
it goes back to our earlier conversations where you train your man,
right?
Yet they can go off into the workforce and be completely self-sufficient. It's like, but you come home and there's like this big dumb blob came home. Well, let me shape him. I mean, just shape him and bake him until he's like this perfect mold. So,
right. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's so funny. So it's very, very much letting him create a relationship and also invite him in and remind him what you like about him, what you admire about him, what you respect about him. You know, have fun together. I think that's one of the most important parts of our relationship is that we do have a lot of fun together. I mean, pretty much everyone in our personal lives are like, you guys are the funnest couple I know. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, lots of fun. And doesn't it feel better if you're invited? Do you think guys need to be invited in or
absolutely.
Know that they can come in and you're not going to like slam the door on their face?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it feels good. I mean, think about it on your own. Just in your own thing, if somebody was telling you were doing something wrong all the time, how often are you going to keep trying to do it? Right? You're eventually going to be like, it's more painful to not be involved than try to be involved and told I'm wrong all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just a PSA I wanted to add in, which I think is super important. So, you know how I love my Red Table Talk? Well, they were doing one on consent, and I thought that was really a great topic, of course. And Amber Rose at one point said that it's so important we stop penis shaming. So I wanted to echo that and piggyback her and say, yes, can we please stop penis shaming? Because guys can't help the size of their penis, and you can still have an incredible relationship regardless of a guy's penis size. Do guys give each other a hard time based on their penis size?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if they, like, it's more of like, it's an insult, but they don't know if it's real or not. It's not like a factual insult.
It's just sense? Like just goofing around with you.
It's just goofing around, like calling you, like when somebody's just angry all the time, is like, oh, I bet he has a small penis.
Okay. Oh, right. Or like if somebody has a big truck and there's like really loud and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, but I think women sometimes will literally be like, oh, he has a small penis and run away. Yeah. You know, or say really mean things about it. And I think that's very damaging. And I don't know, like, there's literally nothing guys can do about their penis size.
Yeah, and I think when guys find out about other guys, it's like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, like, it's like awkward.
That's awkward. That really sucks.
Don't make the joke, guys. Don't make the joke.
No penis jokes. No penis jokes.
Also, guys like compliment each other if they have like a big penis. Because I know even in high school, one of the guys, everybody called him Horse, even though nobody knew. I mean, at least I don't know any girls that ever saw him naked or anything, but it was definitely one of those things. And you know, you could tell, even if it was true or not, just like the other. Yeah. You could see he'd walk around with more confidence and pride, you know?
He's walking bow-legged
down. Oh my gosh, in the Kevin Hart book. Yeah. One of his friends always walks bow-legged just so that it looks like he has a big package.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I thought that was so funny. But yeah, so I totally agree. Because, I mean, I feel like women, we can get breast implants if we wanted to, or now you know so many women who are getting like reconstructive vulvas and stuff like that.
I feel like it's just getting more creative. Like if a guy has a small penis, like you have to figure out other ways to be satisfied. Yeah. Like, I mean, if that's not, if that's a deal breaker, then don't shame him for, like, he literally can't do. Well, how about you get taller, lady? You know? Or how about you shrink in size?
Yeah, there's so many things like get shorter, get taller. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely, and also I think if the only thing that is bringing satisfaction in your mind to a sexual relationship is the size of a penis, that's like you're missing
pretty low
out.
Standards for a male.
Well, I think that's just unfortunate because you're missing out on so many other aspects of like a sexual relationship
Yeah.
if that's the only thing that you think brings pleasure.
Yeah.
You know, so you can learn so much. Oh, I do have an article I wrote on does size really matter? And it is important too. So I'm going to throw that out there. If somebody, because these were all questions that were asked to me, and that's why I wrote the article. So if a guy has a penis that is too large and it does cause pain when you are having sex, they literally have like penis stoppers that make it so that it prevents the penis from going in all the way into the vagina so that it doesn't hit the cervix. And it's supposed to make it so it's less painful. So anyway, I'll add that article in the show notes. So, okay. Next question. My partner wants to talk my ear off when I get home. Help. It's so annoying.
Yeah, this gripe actually came from somebody I personally know, and they've been married for 27 years, and it was interesting to see a shift in his mind after I talked to him about it. I was like, well, you know,
The student has become the teacher.
Oh, God, get out of here. But it's super funny because it's like he never looked through her perspective on why she's even doing that. He's just like, I'm getting my ear talked off, you know? And then, like, I was like, yeah, well, she's at home all day. She's been working remotely for years, and
she's bored.
She's super bored.
And excited to see you.
Yeah.
Is the other part that you didn't say, but that's the other part of that is she's excited to see you. She's been bored all day. She's got some things to say.
And you're the only person that she can personally disclose a lot of her actual feelings. Like, she doesn't have to hold back. She can say what she actually feels or thinks. And then it was like a huge shift in him. He was like, oh, never thought about it like that. And I was just like, wow, you can go be married that long and still, you know, you can teach a old dog new tricks.
Yeah, and so that probably shifted their relationship a ton.
Yeah.
And here's another thing is if you are somebody who is on your way home and you're in a bad mood or you just need a few minutes to yourself before you get home to decompress, then like park down the street, take 10 minutes, do a breathing exercise, do something that's actually self-soothing that'll help you get in a better state. That'll help you get in a better state of mind so that when you do go home, you are able to receive like hugs and love and stories and all of that stuff. So if you need to take a minute to self-soothe before you get home, go ahead and do that. Now, self-soothing means that you aren't repeating the things that annoyed the crap out of you that day in your mind. Maybe you're listening to music that helps you. Maybe you're doing some isometric exercises in the car to get your blood flowing and to release some energy. Maybe you listen to something that makes you laugh really hard. Maybe you yell. Whatever it is you got to do. Maybe you have like a stress ball in your car that you use. We just made stress balls today.
We did.
So
or listen to 10 minutes of Marcus Aurelius meditations.
Ooh, yeah.
There's nothing more grounding than listening to that
Some
audiobook.
stoicism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marcus Aurelius meditations.
Yep.
Yeah. So do something that's going to soothe yourself, soothe your soul, soothe your mind so that you can go in and receive some goodness and give some goodness. Okay. Another question. So I feel really annoyed that my husband plays video games all the time and I want him to stop. What do I do?
He's probably not playing as much as he wants to, to be honest.
Yeah. He's like, I have pulled back.
Yeah.
I barely play now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So this one we could actually, we can relate to in a sense because Keoni is a huge video gamer. Are you really uncomfortable? Do you need to...
my foot's cold.
Oh.
I gotta sit on my foot.
Okay. So Keoni loves video games. Actually, when we first met, and he still does, but he was super into this game called WoW. And I had to chuckle because when I was doing couple therapy, that was actually the game that causes a lot of strife in very many relationships.
Yeah.
Even my little sister had an ex-fiance who played it so much, and I think it got in between him.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is that we don't necessarily know how to balance it, and then we badger, right? We become parenting again versus partnering. And so we're like, oh, this video game's stupid, and then we get so mad anytime the guy plays the video game.
You're getting triggered off of that event. And it seems like it's more than it is, even though like the quantity of time that's actually played could be less, right?
Like, they could play more. Like, if you weren't a part of their life, they would be doing nothing but playing more.
I remember, so when I was in Korea, I didn't want to hang around with a lot of the people that I worked with, and that's usually only people you can hang around with.
Yeah.
And I would play 60-hour work weeks. 60-hour, and I worked 50 hours a week, so...
Yeah, so you did nothing but play.
I did, yeah.
So let's talk about that. So there's some aspects to gaming that you actually build in online friendships.
Yeah.
And you build like a community. And like a game like WoW, you actually need people who you begin to count on each other. You need to show up to do like specific missions in the game.
Yeah.
Right? So I know you told me that sometimes it's easier to let your partner down than to let 20 people online down that are waiting for you that you've been playing with for like 10, 5, 3 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Any variation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of it is, I think it has to be a big shift in the gamer's perspective that they can't make those commitments anymore, and they need to be around people that are in similar lifestyle situations as they are, that will understand more and are willing to not play as much. Like, if you play with like a early 20s or a teenager group, they're playing all the time. Like,
yeah.
They're nonstop playing. They don't have a wife
or just even
or
somebody who's single.
Or kids, yeah.
Because I imagine people in their 30s who are single.
Yeah, I guess
still...
that's what it is. It's like people who are single, but you can't make that commitment. You have to. You can be able to play, but be able to step away at any moment. You can't commit yourself.
Yeah, but how do you convince the guy to do that?
He has to take responsibility.
He has to decide in himself, would he rather have a happy relationship or...
Yeah, like, I think is like, hey, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to play it quite a bit. But if we ever have anything going on, or if we want to hang out, I'll drop it on a dime.
Yeah.
Like, I will leave in the middle of this, whatever we're doing, or just, hey, give me 2 more minutes and then we'll be done, you know?
I feel like this is something that, I mean... I'm going to toot my own horn here, but I feel like that's something I did really well in our relationship is I didn't get very upset about you playing video games.
Yeah.
Also, what you did was you never put your video game before me.
Right.
Even though you played it a ton, but I've never been like mad at you for playing the video game.
I think that's an aspect that a lot of people need to consider is that you need to be able to make it a priority, right? And even if you do play it a lot with all your spare time, you know, like I'm not reading a book, I'm reading game lore. Or so I think it's stuff like that.
So what did you have to do? Did you have to tell your friends online like, hey, I'm in a relationship now? Did you have to like kind of break up with your online friends? Because just so you know, he played so much. Like one of his groomsmen in our wedding, he had never met in person. He only played WoW with.
Yeah.
And the first time they met was when he came to Hawaii for our wedding.
Yeah.
In person.
That's true. And yeah, so I played a ton, and I think there's signups for a lot of that stuff. So it's like you commit a week ahead of time to a 4 to 6 hour block to be with these 25 people or 24 or 39 other people that you're going to be there. You just stop doing that.
I know, but the thing is like, why is it that some guys won't stop doing that? Because I know the appeal of video gaming. You're making
won't be as good.
You're making progress. Oh, because they feel really good. They feel like
you can't reach. You'll never reach. So you have to be comfortable being at 75% good, or like getting 75% of the best stuff. You won't ever get the best stuff anymore. That's somebody who's dedicating 60-hour work weeks.
So it is a loss. Even though it sounds silly.
Yeah.
It sounds silly to people who don't understand, but it really is a loss that they're taking in the gaming world. And also when they're already feeling, so a lot of times what happens, I've noticed, is that a lot of people aren't necessarily working their dream job. They're just working a job, right?
Yeah.
That's paying the bills and doing the thing. And then if there's stress in their relationship, they turn to the video game for a form of escape and a form to excel at something that they enjoy, that they are actually making progress on. And so, and this might also be even why guys turn to sports too. They feel like they're involved in
I think it's the
something.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're involved. Like they feel like they're part of something that is positive, uplifting, and it just feels good. And it's not necessarily about them as a person. It's about the skill level that they can bring, and they can excel in something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, how do you think would be more beneficial for women to respond when that's happening? When they feel like they're not a priority versus, and I also think this is what I think too, is like, if you think you are a priority in your relationship, but you still think he's playing too much, I feel like at some point that's not really what you get to say. You don't get to pick what your partner spends their time doing if it's not harmful.
Right.
You know what I mean? To like to the world. You know?
Yeah.
Like there's some things you might want to be like, maybe we're, little Dexter action isn't really what I'm going to support.
Cat operations.
Yeah. But I think wait, what are you thinking of?
Like killing cats.
Oh.
Operating on cats.
Okay. Yeah, like that. Okay. Anyway, because like I love reading, and I couldn't imagine if you were like, you know what, Steph, you're reading way too much. You need to stop reading.
Yeah. Well, it's socially acceptable that you can do that a lot.
Right. But I'd be like, what? Or like, I love going for walks, and you're like, you know what? You need to start doing one less walk a week.
Which is funny because actually, playing video games pays out more than reading. Because there's no reading competitions, but there is gaming competitions.
That's true.
Anyway, it's kind of funny, like that one's completely acceptable and the other one's not.
Yeah, where you could actually make a career off of gaming,
Yeah.
but you can't make a career off of reading. Really, I mean, you could be like a book critic or something, but yeah.
Right.
So yeah, and I just think about that though, and that's where I'm like, why would I tell you can't play video games? I would be like, what the hell if you're like, you can't read anymore, or you're taking too many baths.
And the funny thing is like you said, is like we don't necessarily have the things that we want in our life, but this is a good substitute that fills that void, right?
Yeah.
So like we went to San Diego, and going to the beach every night was phenomenal. I loved it. I enjoyed it. We'd go out to go eat some dinner, and but we don't have a multi-million-dollar beach house on the Pacific Beach in San Diego.
Right.
And
we live in the desert with like a dirt backyard.
With a dirt backyard, yeah. And so it's just like, I like the video games while we're here, but while we're over there, I don't think about it much. So
yeah, none of us were playing we only watched like an hour of TV at night as we were winding down, and then did our bedtime routine. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's like you said, it's like, it's filling that's something that you wanted.
So that's a really great point. So if somebody in your life is spending so much time like watching sports, doing a hobby, playing video games, have those difficult conversations. It's okay to say, do you not like spending time with me? What would you like to do? Is there a way to involve each other? I know Keoni tried for years and years and years and years and years to get me to play WoW with him. One time when I was like streaming on Twitch, I played for 2 hours. And that's the only time I ever played, and that's probably the only time I ever will.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
But I tried it with you, but I do play Hearthstone with you, right? So you invited me in, and now I play Hearthstone.
Right.
And we don't really play together, but we'll like sit together and play whatever. But anyway, my point is like, is there a way that you can involve them in it? Can you invite them? How are you letting them know that they're still your priority? And you also enjoy this other aspect of your life. And like when it comes to like the sports or something you do on like a weekly basis, like let's say you do sign up for like, I don't know, let's just use the WoW example again, but like you sign up to do like a raid on Sundays. Well, then Saturdays she gets time, or like another day, give her the time to do something that fills her up and feels good for her, so that there's this like balance going on, right?
Yeah, if you're hitting your marks, and then it's basically filling the empty space, right?
Yeah, and then make sure your love tanks are filled, right? Like, are you showing up as an amazing person? Does she feel loved and adored by you? Does he feel loved and supported by you? Stuff like this. Like, what's the foundation? What's the heartbeat of your relationship? Because if you're focusing on that stuff, then these other little things of like, watching Sunday football or playing a video game or going out to poker with his friends isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Right? It's when you feel like you don't matter is when it becomes problematic, and then nagging begins to happen. And I don't think nagging really supports the end goal.
I don't think nagging really does anything.
Besides annoy each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense? Do you think that answered the question well enough?
I think so.
Okay. Let's see. Any other questions?
That was fun. Thanks for having me on to help answer some of the questions that your people have given you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. Well, you guys, there you have it. Those are our answers from our perspective.
And if you ever need a custom result or a custom solution to your problem that you just can't find anywhere else, it's a great hypnotist, and she'll write you a custom hypnosis or help you work through your problem is probably something she's seen before. She's seen thousands of people, so she'll be able to help you way more than Sally, who's been in 3 or 20 relationships. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll plug you all day. I could do an hour session about plugging. You want to do that?
Well, thank you. I'm always happy to help. And I know that everybody I work with does see progress of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Progress is there for you.
That's a key measurement on progress,
Yeah.
in any endeavor.
Yeah.
Yourself or business or work, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, my pumpkin pies, thank you so much for listening. Have an incredible day. And before you head off to enjoy your Halloween candy, please take a moment while you're snacking on that candy that you enjoy the most and write me a review, because it really matters and you matter. So,
and book a session.
And and if you do want to book a session, go ahead and email me at Stephanie@beautifullychanged.com or send me a DM on Instagram @beautifullychanged. Have an amazing day. You matter. You're awesome. And your butt is fantastic. See you next time. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. And make sure to share this episode with someone and leave a review. And remember, you're worthy of incredible love.